Okay, I'm recording. All right. Hello. I don't really know how to start this one. I'm not. Damn, this light is bright. Hold on. Okay. Hello. I am back with another video. Why am I still posting? Because I said I would, and also it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun talking to myself. But yeah, okay, I have nothing planned to talk. I'm just gonna kind of go off the top of my head. So, past week, the website that I was working on, I managed to get all the animations to work. I just don't really know where to go from here. Like, I need to put all the information on the website and add another animation, but I can't decide whether or not I want to do it all in post-it notes or like the idea is whether or not I use a pop-up, which is like a whole different branch of figuring stuff out, or if I just set up another website, which wouldn't be difficult to do. At least like I wouldn't have to read too much more in terms of like knowing how to do it because I've made websites before. But it would be a lot more time consuming, I think, versus like if I were to kind of break everything down and make it concise and put it into like small pop-ups that would show up on the screen. And not to mention the pop-ups would likely be more stylized. So I'm leaning towards that. It's just going to take a little while longer in terms of like reading the CSS and understanding kind of like the JavaScript for it. Because I mean, I've programmed with JavaScript before, but I've never programmed with JavaScript in terms of like making a website and like making elements for a website and stuff like that. I've mainly just, I like to call it the copy and paste method for all things in terms of computing, where they kind of have you build the same thing in different languages, but that usually just ends up being like some calculator, some it's the education that you get from like high school and stuff like that is mainly where I get most of my JavaScript experience from. So I've worked with building like small little like really basic apps before, but I've never really done like stylized CSS and um, kind of like handling elements using JavaScript. But I mean, I'm excited to learn. Besides, it's a good reminder into object-oriented programming, which is pretty prevalent no matter what language you use. But yeah, that's been going fine. I actually had to revisit my machine learning project because I was like, let's test it on like a really large and complex data set. And I took like this huge, like absolutely massive data set with a lot of features, and I realized something very quickly, which was my hot one encoding did not. Basically, I realized that some of the features would need to be removed before even pre-processing. Just like general metadata that you can derive from the CSV file, excuse me, would be able to kind of like tell you like, oh, this column isn't really something that we can use, and we don't need to like normalize it or one hot encode it at all, or anything before that, in order to just know, and we wouldn't have to do much feature processing to know which ones to remove either. It's really just like, oh, is the variance low? I mean, I think some functions already test for that, but I just never had anything explicitly say it. So that's what I'm like writing a function for now. And then these projects here, I think I touched upon them a little bit on my last video, but I'm excited to like start a few of them. I think the one that's going to be most interesting is using a backtesting algorithm for stock like like trading stocks, like the general strategy for it. What quant, you know, uh, developers or quant like people who work in quant, what they'll do is they'll run it through a backtesting algorithm in order to see if that strategy would work given market history. I think it's cool, but I wanted to see if like maybe there was a way I could either build it myself and kind of understand the stock market a little bit better. It's one of those things where I don't want to participate in it, but I'm very fascinated by it. Like, to me, the stock market is gambling. Like, I see it just as like as that because I understand like you can improve your odds and probabilities. That's what quant traders do. But realistically, like even if you have like say I think at best they can like maybe do like a 50, 60-ish% kind of like guarantee of a certain stock, which was like really good. I think. You know, you have a 60% chance of making a shit ton of money. That sounds pretty great. But like it ultimately is still a gamble. Like you weigh the probabilities and odds when you're playing a deck of cards, but we still call it gambling. You know, it's not necessarily fixed. If you know you're the likelihood and odds are higher in your favor depending on what hand you were dealt, you don't know how the river is going to turn out. So it's ultimately still gambling. Um, at least by my definition, I don't think many people share in that thought. It's just kind of like my own way to like stay away from it. I know it's a great way for financial security if you're like good with it, and like I would err to the side of caution of saying like the people who do it are misinformed or ill advised. Like people who do it are incredibly into like they're very smart. They're very smart and they know how to handle their money and everything like that. For me, it's just I don't know. Something about it just doesn't sit right with me. I couldn't explain it entirely if I even tried, but there's a reason why I don't want to. But I'm still fascinated by it. I think the idea of it, like non-linear relationships in data and finding if there is some kind of overall pattern depending on certain ways the market trends and what kind of behaviors the stock market has had. I mean, backtesting data really you can only go so far as well because you can't test new strategies on really old scenarios otherwise because the market's evolving and stuff like that. And again, I don't know enough about it to really speak on it, but I know data and I know like if you were to apply similar techniques to um, old things, you might just get like a strategy that works during that time period but wouldn't work like in this modern day and age given certain kinds of parameter changes and everything like that. But yeah, I wanted to make it just to see if I could, because I feel like one of the big things about quant trading is everybody who's in quant says like this is complicated and difficult, and I believe them. So I figure why not try my hand at it? If I want to be a Google developer, I should be able to do like pretty complex things at the bare minimum, right? I'm holding myself to a higher standard, I think, because it's more fun that way. If you don't hold yourself to a high standard, it's not as fun because you don't really do things outside of your own comfort level. But yeah, that's gonna be fun. And then I wanted to reprogram a memory allocator since I am working in Linux now. Not reprogram my own memory allocator. See if I can like make a memory allocator and stuff like that. Just in theory, just because I think it's been a while since I visited pointers and memory management and allocating memory and coalescing and stuff like that. It's been maybe like a year or two since I last did something related to it, so I wanted to go back and kind of do a general review, be able to program in Linux and stuff. I think the overall goal is still kind of that idea of like, oh, I see something, I'm interested in it, I'm going to build it. Or if I have an idea, it's a lot easier for me to just go from idea to product just really quickly, and hopefully I'll be able to make some cool stuff and I'll be able to release it for free. That's like still okay. So here's like my level of goals right now. Get a job, right? Build something cool, um, and make it free for everybody to use. I think people who make open source code are the coolest people in existence. You want to know why? Because they're so smart. They're so unbelievably smart. And they're just like, yeah, but I think everybody deserves to have this. Like, nobody has to be as smart as me in order to have this. And like I think there's just so much, like they provide something to the world. And they use their intellect in order to do that. I don't think I'm the smartest person in the world. I don't think I'm super smart, but I think I can aspire to be like the people who are so willing to kind of like give. And maybe not. Maybe their like moral philosophies doesn't actually revolve around that. They were just like, you know what? Maybe I'll just put this out in the public, and oh, there it goes. But I still think it's really nice to be able to do that overall. Make something really cool, give it to people for free, make the world a better place in that regard. Everybody has access to more resources. I don't think that's crazy. Like if I were the first person to invent a ruler, I don't think I'd be like, okay, now it's only you can't use it unless you pay me. What? Like the people who made Apache Spark, the Berkeley professors who made Apache Spark. Those guys are sick. That's awesome. And then like now ultimately we have like 100 different companies just using their code in order to make money. But like anybody can still use their code for their own personal reasons. In fact, what if? No, I'm not gonna think about that. That's like corporate espionage in some way. Um, but yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'm still making the projects. I started working on my resume again, because obviously I still have to apply for jobs if I want a job. Um, and I talked to a teacher, a high school teacher, or my old high school teacher, not just a high school teacher. He's a really cool guy. But he helped me out a lot this week. Gave me a lot of advice about like the job market and what to look out for, and generally like, well, gave me a lot of opportunity to kind of like figure things out with him, which I think is such. I feel very blessed. But that's cool. And something he suggested was actually that I teach people machine learning through YouTube videos. I don't think I'd understand machine learning enough to really teach it to anyone just yet. I think maybe my understanding exceeds that of somebody who's like a beginner or a novice. Like I'm at that intermediate stage where I can understand why these concepts work. But I mean, if I were to ever make a video on it, it would be much less of me teaching people and much more of me learning things and hoping people understand, and then maybe they can help my understanding too. Essentially, learning together. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Really not a lot to say beyond that. I still managed to fill up to 10 minutes though, so happy about that. Yeah. I hope that I can finish this project tomorrow. The website I did want to finish really like quickly, but I realize there's just not a lot of there's like a lot of roadblocks, and I'm not really. I think I can be good at front end development. It's just that it's sometimes a little boring. Like I'm fine doing it. I don't think it's like the worst thing in the world. It's just it's not as mentally stimulating as like, you know, writing an algorithm from scratch, which makes me feel like I'm very stupid. But like it's within that stupidity that I feel a little bit smart once I figure it out. So yeah, that's it. That's the video. I really want to find a good way to like end these.